Welcome to Collecting Consciousness, where we aim to capture the ever-expanding and evolving conscious creations that originate from the minds of fellow podcasters, strangers, dear friends, and loved ones.
In this podcast, we will expand on our inner wisdom and a coming home to self. From our conscious minds to yours, we welcome you to the Collecting Consciousness.
Welcome back to another episode of Collecting Consciousness. And we're really excited again for this week. It is our our 4 agreements series with the book written by Don Miguel Ruiz. And today we will be unpacking the first agreement with you all and sharing with you our insights and our wisdom and our epiphanies and all the rest in between. And before we start, let's do some breath work today and a little intention prayer setting with Courtney. So wherever you're at right now, if it's available to you, I invite you to just take a pause with us. And even if it's not available to you, maybe you can find your own way of joining this breath work in this moment. So gently closing your eyes, if this is available, taking our attention to the inner landscape. I want you to just pay attention to your breath. How is its depth? What's the rate? Does it feel hurried? Does it feel shallow? And just taking an inventory without judgment, just a simple awareness of what is occurring inside your body. And I'm going to count down from 3. And when I get to 1, count of 1, I'm going to invite you to exhale completely, emptying all the breath out of the body. 3, 2, 1. Exhale completely. Pause at the bottom for a count of 2. 1, 2. Inhale completely, filling the body with fresh breath, allowing the chest to expand and rise and the belly to fill and puff out. When you get to the top of this breath, pausing for a count of 2. 1, 2. Exhaling completely. Allowing all the breath to empty out of the body. And when you get to the bottom, pausing for a count of 2. 1, 2. Inhaling again, filling the body with fresh prana, fresh breath. Bringing the inhale deep into the belly, deep into the energy center we call the dantian that lives below the navel. When you get to the top of this breath, I want you to pause for 2. 1, 2. Exhaling completely, allowing the breath to empty out of the body. Getting to the bottom of the exhale, pausing for 1, 2. And then allowing the breath to return to its natural rhythm. Not trying to force a rate or a depth. Just simply allowing the chest to rise and fall on its own. See if you can maintain the softness in your belly, allowing this breath that is now moving in and out of you at its own rhythm, its own rate, its own depth, allowing it to see if it can travel down to that energy center, the Dantian. And as we sit here in this moment of presence with our own bodies and our own breath, I'm going to invite Courtney to fill our minds and our hearts with a prayer of intention.
Thank you, Bethany.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Collecting Consciousness. I'm Courtney. That's Bethany. For our new viewers, for our old viewers, we welcome in a sweet, sweet prayer. The prayer is to get us in our bodies. The prayer is to seek intentions, to lead us on our journey, to guide us with ease. So from my heart to yours, I welcome out a prayer that comes from within. Everything is within us. Everything we need is within us. Let us build trust with our inner world. Let us build validation within our inner world. Let us build understanding in our inner world. Let us project an understanding, a compassion, with hopes to grow and expand and to see what we need to see. Let us be reflectors, mirrors, to see the wisdom that lies within. Let us be open to new perspectives. Let us be open to others' hearts. And let us dive in to the 4 agreements, part 2. From our conscious minds to yours, we welcome you to Collecting Consciousness. When you are ready, allow yourself to tap once again into the breath, to be in the present moment, to see what wisdom lies ahead. Pay attention to the body, to the mind, to the soul. Gently open your eyes when you feel ready. Perhaps set an intention for yourself in this very present moment. My intention is I seek to connect. Thank you, Bethany. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome,
Thank
welcome,
you.
welcome.
Thanks.
Breathwork and prayers. That's
know.
fun. I feel so calm.
I do too, actually.
Like I literally, my eyes are just like, whoa.
Let's take another sip of coffee.
Yes, legit, legit. There's times like when we start the breath work, I'm like, I like gauge how much coffee is in the body, because I'm like, okay, what's that nervous system feeling like? Is it, is it a little bit higher on edge? How is it feeling? But the breath work, the prayers just kind of level you back down.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's all about relaxing our nervous systems.
Yeah.
Getting us into the present moment so then we can share what needs to come through in the podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's part of why I cherish it so much, is because it does allow me to like drop in to this.
Yes. It sets the space. It sets the space. It sets the container. And it's like going forward with that, like using that in life with anything that we do, just creating that intentional intention, that like creating that breath work. Getting the holistic psychologist posted something the other day, and she was like, we are not always meant to be regulated. Our nervous system is not always meant to be regulated, because it's an indicator of where, oh, there's a threat, oh, there's a pain within you. It's your body telling you something's not right. So it's like, sometimes people think, oh, we have to always be regulated, but it's like, it brings you that awareness. Oh, let's come back to regulation. So it just kind of is like, grand scheme of things, it just opens up and gets you to see yourself for where you're at.
And I think it's like, what I'm hearing is like, it's your ability to respond to it. That's like really what it's about. It's about your response to the nervous system, not like trying to manage it and have it be perfect all the time. It's just like, it's how do you respond to it? Do you want to take you into overdrive all the time, or do you regulate it? Do you listen? Do you take that ownership and get yourself back in alignment? Yeah.
100%. Because like for me, sometimes one thing I'll notice with when I'm dysregulated, my heart, I can always tap into my heartbeat, and I'm like, oh, I can feel it. I can feel that it's like really fast. It's on edge. And then I'm like, okay, cool. So what do I want to do in that present moment with that heart rate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Responding. Cool. Love it.
Responding to the body, being in tune.
Yeah. Love it. Cool.
So let's jump into this agreement this week. All right. So last episode, if anybody hasn't listened to it yet, we opened with the first 2 chapters of the book, which was the introduction and the domestication of the dream of the planet. And super potent chapters in themselves, but they really give you the foundation for going into the 4 agreements. The premises to where those 4 agreements really birthed from is in those first 2 chapters. So definitely encourage you guys to go back and listen to that episode if you're joining us today on this episode.
Yeah, the nuggets of wisdom in that were just like so potent, and just to reflect again and repeat words. I remember like when we called each other, we were just like, holy shit, let's just do an episode on the beginning 2 chapters, because there was so much knowledge in there.
Yeah. So
what's beautiful too is like when you do go back, when you do these things for yourself, when you tap in and do things for your own knowledge, you pick out different wisdom than what we pick out. So there's just all different sorts of wisdom that your intuition wants to pull, and then our wisdom can light something within you. So it's a collaborative team effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then if you guys have any wisdom, nuggets that birth through you that you're like, whoa, I just want to share this perspective, or like this idea, or how this moved me, share it. I mean, please comment on the YouTube channel, or
Instagram.
On Instagram.
Yeah, and you can message us not on Spotify, but Instagram and YouTube, and you can DM us on Instagram. And actually, Bethany, I do think you actually can do something on Spotify, because Al did write on Spotify. So yes, you can, but I don't know if I'll always see it. Like maybe you have to go back into the episode and see. We'll have to go have a look. Yeah, I just want to say something real quick before we get into it. It is a joy doing this podcast, and I just want to set a little intention for us right now that the people are finding us, and that we are reaching people, and to sit in with patience and trust. That's what was coming to me this morning when I was doing some meditating, was just trusting the people are coming. So I just want to reach out and say thank you to all who are listening and are being with us, because it is really special.
Well, sweet. I love that. And just to go into the first agreement, like to be impeccable with our word. It's the first agreement. And I will say one thing that went through my mind yesterday. Literally, I was listening to an episode of the Almost 30 podcast, which I mean, it's a very well known podcast out there.
I never heard of that.
Okay. Well, I think it is. I mean, it's been around for 6 years. And I just remember yesterday, like, I was listening to an episode and then I went back and in my like mind now, because I'm doing this, I'm like, okay, how long have they been around for? So I went back to like their oldest video 6 years ago. And I was like, sweet. I can't wait to see where we are in 6 years. They
Yes,
were, oh, and this is the other
totally.
thing that tripped me out. They were on episode 556.
I know.
I was like,
Yes, that's
oh my God.
insane.
So then I was like, how long have they been around? And then, so that's what made me go back to like, look. And so I was like, to be impeccable with our word and to be impeccable with
Yes.
our thoughts. And, I was like, wow, I really can't wait to see where we are in 6 years. And
Uh,
it really doesn't matter where we're at now. Like,
no, it doesn't.
like in the grand
Yes.
scheme of it. Yeah.
Yes. And it's like to just like sit in it and just
Mhm.
like taking us back to the present moment. It's like just being in it, enjoying the process. Cause like where we were at the beginning, like I remember I was nervous at the beginning.
Mhm.
Now that's not like we're on episode like 16 or 17. And it's just like, it feels like it just feels really fun. And to just watch yourself grow and evolve. So I too look forward to what our conscious minds, where we're at in 6 years time.
I know, and it's going to be fun because
Yeah.
we will go through evolution and we will go through changes in scenery. You know what I mean? It's how I
Yes.
look at it. Like things will change, I'm sure, like 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever, however long this goes for, like it will change and shift. And that will be fun to watch. Anyways,
Mm.
so I'm excited
Well,
to put it
side
out
note.
there.
I'll lean into one more thing with that, and then
Yeah.
we'll get into it. But it's like when we did our first live, it was so rocky, and you're like, should I delete it? I was like, no, let's keep it because it'll just show our evolution.
Yeah.
And then we did another one, and there was no technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But it is. It's just like allowing us to kind of show up. It's allowing us to show up authentically and just be in that present moment and just like no judgment upon ourselves, just letting us be where we're at. Like it's all so new and it's awesome. So yeah. One thing about the first agreement. So the be impeccable with your word. It is the most in the author's opinion, it's the most important and most difficult agreement. It's a very powerful agreement. I mean, your words, like, when people think about, do your words match your actions? Words, we can say things, but if we're not acting on it with, it's a true thing it's a very potent thing to be impeccable with your word. And there, go ahead. You
go finish your thought.
Okay, well, there was so he did a little biblical verse and I really liked it. It was the Gospel of John, creation of the universe. In the beginning was the Word was with God, in the Word is God.
Yeah.
So it just ties it back to like we are God and the Word, it started with the Word and it's within us. So it's like having that authenticity with your word. Don't just say things just because you think people want to hear that. Say it because you feel it in your heart. And that's impeccability.
Yeah, and just to break down the word, I like that he broke it down because I like etymology of like words.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, where did it come from? Like, and I love when people do that. So he broke it down as in Greek, peccatus.
Oh, right.
How you say that? I think that's how you say that. But anyways, peccatus is sin, and then like I
is
am
without.
So that's
I wrote that too.
Yeah, the origin of the word is without sin. So in the last chapter we talked about or I'm sorry, was it the last chapter? Sin? Oh no, this one. So he talks about sin. Just so that you know what it's like to be without sin, you need to know what sin is. So sin, he says, is anything you do that goes against yourself. So that means judging, blaming,
self-rejection.
Rejection, thank you. Yeah, is going against ourselves. So what I guess I want to say too about impeccability with our word, and what really stuck out to me this time in reading this book, is it's an internal job first. So it's like it's an internal thing to just be impeccable with your word internally with your own dialogue. So like if you're judging, blaming, rejecting yourself, then you will not only, but you will majorly like speak those words out into the world.
Outwards, the projection.
Yeah. So I think that was huge for me this time reading this book, was like realizing, oh, okay, like even more of a call to listen to what am I saying to myself? How am I talking to myself? How am I talking to, because we all have like the inner
An inner
dialogue of
dialogue.
everything, like even the
Yeah.
way you observe the world, like, oh, that's an ugly lamp, or oh, ew, why did they put that there? Or like,
Yeah.
you're saying
The
that in
judgments,
your
quick
head.
judgments. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and then just to even like further deep, or just, I mean, actually to make it more attainable is like, people might be listening, like, I don't even realize that I'm saying those things in my head. Like I'm not really
Yeah. The
aware of
subconscious.
that going on in your head. And so I'd invite you all, if you're having those thoughts of like, oh, I don't even realize, like, how do I even get in touch with that? Like I'm so, you know, I want to use the word distracted, but I'm not sure if the word is right. But like we do have a lot of distractions. We have like our phones and we have
Mhm.
activities beyond belief right now, what to do with kids, if you have kids, if you are going, so many things. There's just so
Yeah.
many things to be involved with in this world. So the invitation is to start a meditation practice of some sort where you're just like tuning in. If you need to at first do it guided so that you can actually get yourself to sit and be still, and then I invite you to do it without any voices or any guidance,
No
just maybe
sound.
music, but
And maybe without it, and like keep
without
going
it.
layer and layer,
Yeah.
then take out the just sit in silence.
Yep. And this is
Because I
I'd say this is your first tool to start to
hear
be more
yourself.
impeccable with your internal
Yeah.
dialogue. It's like to do
Yeah.
meditation.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mm. I
Anyway.
love that. That was no, that was good. But it is true. It is like where you see yourself, like you can kind of take it as how others treat themselves, how people treat others is a reflection of how they treat themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's like, if you are being really harsh on yourself, okay, well, are you being harsh on others? It is just like coming back to that smoking mirror. It just from chapter 1. It's just like to see how you're showing up in this life, how you're responding and reacting to others. It's just like, is there a mirror there? There is a mirror there, and it can show you. If you just go back to like looking at people, places, and things, you can also see your inner dialogue as well.
Mhm. Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, if you have that lens about life. Um So yeah, so we touched on breaking down the word impeccable, and then what that means and how you begin to be impeccable with your word. Um,
I
so
got a little go. I got a
yeah,
little
go.
spot.
Yeah, go, go,
Yeah.
go.
So into the next part of it, you know, impeccability, words are power. They are powerful. What we say, what we feel, what we tell others can really imprint on others. And not even just for yourself, like through the words we can manifest. They are spells, they create, they are intentions. What you feel, you dream, and what you really are is what gets created. It's a source of energy.
Mhm.
And me and you were chatting the other day, and it was like regarding the episode, and I was telling you, I'm going to use an example of
Mhm.
how my friend came for a visit, and I was just telling her, we were talking about my work schedule, and I'm a massage therapist, and I go on treatment, like appointments. And I was like, when I said this, because this is a belief that that has been with me for a long time. When you have one cancellation, you have a million. And I said it every time it happens. I was like, no short of a lie, it always comes. And sure enough, that following week, I had cancellations, and then the next, and then the next, and I think I had like 7 cancellations that week. And I was like, motherfucker. I was like, God damn it. I was like, I spoke it. I said it. And I have not been having cancellations in a hot second. And
Yeah.
I was like, damn, Courtney, you literally just put that out there. And sure enough, it did. But as I was chatting with Bethany, I was like, you know what? I need to create a new agreement, because that's a belief. That is a belief that I now agree to, that when I get a cancellation, I'm going to get 100 more. So I was like, no, I don't want to believe that anymore. So what I came up with yesterday, I was like, when I get a cancellation, I'm creating an agreement that it's opening up for someone more divinely meant for that appointment, that this appointment is going to the person that really needs it in this moment. So now I'm like just sitting in that agreement, and it feels right in my soul, and leaning in a little bit layered with that. In therapy, my therapist taught me that, we were going through agreements, beliefs. She calls them beliefs. They're also agreements of what I feel. And she was like, let's create some new beliefs. So we went through and wrote, and she would ask me, she would say a belief. And she's like, how does that feel within you? And I was like, she's like, you really need to feel it. If you don't feel it, it's not going to be true. It won't work. It will not come true. So we would go through an agreement, and if she wouldn't see me really light up, she's like, nope, not that one. But then she would tweak words. So I had come back to therapy another session, and I was like, oh, I had some new beliefs I wrote out, and I told her one, and she saw a word in there that she didn't love because it was kind of contradictory. And she's like, let's scratch that word. You don't need that word in there. And she's like, let's just tweak it just a little bit. Going back to being impeccable. They're powerful. How even, again, more layers. When I like to write out posts for our episode, I keep saying, you will not want to miss this episode. And I hate when I say that. I don't like that, but I haven't been able to really find something organically that feels right. So I was talking to my energy healer, and she was like, this is an episode that is going to inspire you. And then she said some other ones, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. So it's tweaking the ways that we create these agreements, these beliefs within ourselves. So I hope you can follow along with all those little side stories that I did. But the purpose is, when you believe something, it will come true. So is this hindering you? Is this helping you? Can you look at the agreements you have within yourself and say, oh, this is actually a bit of a sabotaging belief of mine. Oh, this is actually a really expansive belief within my system. Our words are impeccable. When you believe something, it's in your energetic field. It's all energy. So really be powerful with your creations, be intentful with your creations, and words are power. They are tools of magic.
That was really
cool.
Great.
Pet talk.
I want to sprinkle a little green onion on top of the.
Yes, I love. Get some chives. I love it.
We made a 7-layer taco dip there. I just want
to
some green onion. That's what I kept thinking. I was like, ooh, this is a yummy little dip.
Fuck yeah. Now I really want some green onion.
But yeah, so, the impeccability with your word, yes, it does stem from your beliefs, that internal dialogue. It does stem from your beliefs. So, question I had for you that would just go back to reinforce where our beliefs come from in the domestication of the planet, train for the planet. Going back to that, where did the belief come from originally about the cancellations? Was it a massage school teacher? Was it
it culture? Was? Yeah, I remember I did hear it in school. I remember hearing it in school, and then you hyper focus because it's been ingrained in you, and that can kind of I'll say never mind. Never mind. My brain's just spiraling now. Okay. But it's what somebody put into my mind. Someone said something, I believed it. Yeah. Take it as not gossip, but it's just words that people say, people's own judgments, their own preconceived notions, their own projections of what has been their case.
Or somewhere they got imprinted with that. So
exactly. Exactly. And that's what I was just going to say. It's what somebody else told them. And it's funny too, because it's I heard someone said something to me, and I did not feel that at all. I was like, no, I literally was like, oh no, I reject that belief. I don't believe that. I was like, I don't cater to that. I am not catering that, even to you, not catering to getting older.
Yeah, that I was just
You
thinking that. I
know?
was like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like subscribing to that. Like, oh, I'm just like when we start to have aches after we go for a mountain biking ride.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's not because we're getting older. It's because we don't work out a lot and
Y-
we just went for a
yes. You
biking
need,
ride. So
yes.
like,
And you need to
I
do some
do not,
self-care. Like,
yeah, I do not like that jargon of like, oh, it's, or even people will say like it's tough getting older, something to look
yes, I
forward
know,
to.
I know, I know. I
I
like
just there's
block
things,
up.
yeah, and you talk about jarring your system, like pay attention to that when you hear things out there in the world.
Yes.
And I know this is kind of going back to chapter 2, but it's really great to reinforce it organically, like in this conversation, that like these beliefs, this is how easily they get imprinted on you, from a very young age. And not, and like going back to where your massage, teacher may have heard it, or person in massage school that told you it, like they may not even realize that they adopted that belief. They just kind of like, it just gets subconsciously programmed
Yeah.
into us, and we're just like,
Yes.
okay, we just regurgitate. Sometimes if you're not checking in with your body and you're not being true and impeccable with what feels good on the inside, like without that judgment, without that rejection, and without that blame, well, if you don't have any of those things, then like, does that belief sit with you? Because it wouldn't, like, it wouldn't.
Yes.
It sit in a landscape where there's no judgment, there's no blame, and there's no rejection. Like a belief that, you know, we're just getting older and we're gonna like fall apart. Like that would not fall, because that's a judgment on like age, or that's a blaming of age. Like, so that, if you can adopt just that landscape inside yourself, which is really hard, not to judge,
Hmm.
blame, or reject parts of yourself. But if you can put that as your internal landscape, then when things do come your way, these beliefs that do come your way, like you will easily be able to feel them jar your system. That didn't
Yeah.
fit. That doesn't fit in this
Yeah.
landscape. It's not a pretty flower. It doesn't fit here. Like we're just gonna
Yeah.
believe
Totally.
that.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
that comes with that comes with definitely time, you know, of trusting yourself and trusting your own inner wisdom, your own inner compass, that like you don't have to subscribe to things. I mean, I was thinking, when I was really young, I had so like these words, they're seeds that plant within us, and like you said, if you are rejecting, if you feel these things, if you don't have that like capability to trust yourself, because it comes to trusting
Mhm,
yourself,
mhm,
and then these things do just get, an easily said thing can get into your brain, and you're like, you believe it, you
mhm,
fucking believe it.
mhm.
um I had a couple of seeds that got ingrained with me, and would you like to hear them?
I would, yeah. I was also, yeah, I
Yeah.
would. Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, um, well, I am wearing yellow today because yellow is like green is my favorite color, but I love yellow.
Mhm.
And I bought a yellow dress back when I was 18, 17, and somebody told me that yellow was not my color. And as simple as that was,
Mhm.
I believed them.
Mhm.
And even though in that dress that I bought, I fucking loved that dress. I still actually wish I had that dress. I think about that dress from time to time. And, but because I trusted this person, I believed them. And I remember I dated this guy in my early 20s, and we went to a show, and there was a choice between a black shirt and a yellow shirt. And I went with the black, and he's like, get the yellow. It looks so good on you. I was like, no, someone told me that yellow is not my color. And they're like, well, do you listen to that person always? And then that planted a seed in my mind to, to, to get that
Dig
thought
that.
out of my brain, get
Yeah.
that out. Like, because I really did love yellow. So I bought the yellow shirt. And then years later, 10 years later, I learned from the person that somebody told them that yellow looked horrible on them. So,
Wow.
yeah, so it was years later that I learned that it was a projection.
Wow.
And it sucks, and it sucks. So guys, here's an indicator for us to be impeccable with our word. Know that our words hurt.
Mhm.
Words can hurt. Words can imprint. Our own judgments, our own assumptions can create things within people that aren't true. And it is coming back to just being impeccable, like integrity, like having integrity with your word. Like, is it gonna? be like trying to be empathetic. And are these words hurtful? Are these words going to create discomfort within somebody? Is this creating discomfort within yourself? Sit within yourself. Is this a projection?
Mm-hmm.
And am I putting it out onto somebody?
And just like I had this really cool analogy just popped into my mind about like, the fertile ground of our mind, like, because he relates in the book to our words being seeds that get planted into the fertile ground of our mind. And you can think of the fertile ground. Well, okay. So I kind of thought of it like this just now when you said that. I was like, at first I thought, oh, okay, that thought or that belief that you got about the yellow shirt or the yellow color on you. At first I thought it's like a weed in the garden. Okay, so we got to like pull the weeds out. But then I like was like, oh man, like I was just sitting here like listening and then also like digesting. And I was like, well, I love lots of weeds. Like I actually like all of my yard has weeds. I'll use air quotes because like
I know the flowers are
beautiful.
Yeah, totally.
But like say I'll use two examples. So say you're a gardener and you're growing vegetables in your garden and you have these nice rows of whatever, strawberries, cabbage, carrots, whatever you are growing. I don't know if this is relatable, so I'll give another example, but so those are your like, you've tended to those crops, those plants, you've given them lots of love. They are your seeds of love. They're what you're going to reap benefits from, down the road, and you're going to eat them and you're going to enjoy them. A lot of people will try really hard to keep weeds, I'll use air quotes again, because in that situation, you don't want weeds to take over those beautiful crops that you've planted with intention and with love. You don't want the weeds to take over because it will draw nutrients from them and it will destroy them and it will just, not produce a really great, healthy crop. So you could think of it that way as like the words that you are receiving or even the words that you're speaking, but you could think of your own mind as like your fertile, beautiful garden and you're tending to these beautiful crops of whatever you want to grow in your garden, and those beliefs that have been instilled in you that are not beneficial to you, that are not going to flourish and provide nourishment to your soul and to your being, you're going to take those weeds out. And those beliefs are those weeds that you're going to take out of that garden, and you're going to keep that garden pristine. And that's how you could like maybe look at your mind. If you can't relate to the gardener, think of an invasive species, like in any forest, like an invasive species, even though it may be beautiful, it's invasive and it takes over. And maybe that's like somebody that has like, maybe somebody identifies with that as like, wow, I really have taken on so many beliefs that are not mine that and I've gone my life. Maybe you're like, you can even think of it like this, because we're all at different stages, I imagine, listening to this podcast. So like, gosh, if you're 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 listening to this podcast, like for you, because like yes, you're gonna get this information, and like if we had this information when we were 9, 10, 12, like holy shit, like we would be probably our gardens would be looking pretty damn good right now. But we did it, and we read it in our 20s and 30s, and then we had to go back and look at our gardens, and we're still looking at our gardens, and we're still realizing there's lots of weeds, or there's like maybe you're in your 60s and and now you're reading this book or you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh damn, like I have got the craziest invasion of an invasive species that's just suffocating my good, healthy thoughts and plants and and so it's like that, could feel overwhelming. So
100%. So just side note, reach out to any sort of help along the way, therapy, energy healers, like massage therapists, coaches. There's so much free content on Instagram, on social media, like the books, whatever. Know that it's better late than never. It's like we can always go in and shift patterns and grow and evolve if that's what you choose, if that's what you want for your journey, because, to look at those parts of ourselves, sometimes it can be scary. But know that there is a beautiful garden. And side note, like I treat like younger kids, and it's so awesome. And I see like young 20-year-olds like already fucking like working through shit, not having to work through shit. I'm just like, yes. As my therapist likes to say, she's like,
she was like a trendsetter for starting, for being a healer out in the world, trying to help people grow and evolve. And she says, I love passing the torch to the younger generation. And same to me, like, I love seeing these 20-year-olds come in and they're just already fucking badass as fuck. And I'm just like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
Because and even as the analogy I used last week of the cup, the dark cup, then it gets later and it gets later. When you go in and look at parts of yourself and you heal those parts of yourself, you clean your glass so that it overspills and it's a clean glass for the next one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's just a beautiful journey to go in and see where you're at and being proud of yourself. Like, who you were 2 years ago is not who you are today. So can you sit and be proud of yourself and hold gentle space for yourself along the way as you continue to go into your garden and tend to it and pull out those weeds, because it's exhausting to have to keep yourself going through loop after loop, staying in the same mindset where you actually have some really beautiful things within you that just need some tending to.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
On another little planting of seed, here's just like a sweet seed, because sometimes we go in and plant seeds for others, hoping that they tend and they hear it and it sparks something within them. Yeah. But one of my exes back in the day, he was like, I said this on the podcast before, I wish you could see me the way I see you. And I remember like being probably on my bed in tears at that moment when he said that. And it planted and it grew and it grew. And I do see myself that way. And if I do see things in me that do scare me, I know that I can overcome anything. So I just know that we're all unique little individuals. And if, you look at somebody, we look at people really sweetly and kindly, and you just wish that people saw themselves that way, because it is all within us. So thank you. Thank you for saying that, because it truly did plant. And, but words are powerful. They're potent. Seeds are potent. And, it's important to, is there integrity behind what you're trying to say? Be intentful, be open-minded, have compassion, and, know that words, projections, they can seep into people. So we just have to be clear within ourselves and know that we can reject people's feelings and thoughts that don't sit right in our soul. Find what sits right in your soul.
And then, like, to layer onto that, in this chapter, he discusses like heavily gossip. And so that kind of layers onto, conversations that you're having with people or engaging in dialogues that could be hurtful and are hurtful. Gossip is it's like it's a person's perspective on another person or even a situation. And it doesn't allow you as the receiver, so say you're just the receiver of the gossip and you're not even participating in it, but you're just receiving it. Now you have a perception that either you choose to subscribe to, or you choose to like leave on the sideline and go into that interaction with that person or that situation with your own fresh lens. And that takes a lot of, I think, willpower to not participate or not adopt those, because just like we're saying words, just because we're saying words are powerful, like once it's spoken, it takes a lot to like forget that, it takes a real conscious effort, even if you are going to go into that situation or that interaction with that person that was gossiped about. Like, it takes a lot of conscious effort to say, I'm not going to believe what I just heard about this person. I'm going to truly just see them for who they are and make my own judgments. Like, now, because you were a receiver of the gossip, you were involved in that situation, like you have to put out this extra conscious energy to interact with that person. Yeah. So it's really like, I guess say that with this whole notion of just everyone listening, be really careful about what you say about others. Like, it's, unless it's coming from a place of love, and it's going to promote that other person or that situation, like don't say it, because it's then putting a burden on that person that's receiving it to now have to go through life and think about and not think about what you just told them about that person, situation, place. And
1,000%,
yeah,
1,000%.
yeah. So, when I just want to say one example for me that always like really was a living, breathing example. Just about every shift that I would go into the hospital and work, we give off our nursing handoff report or whatever, each shift. And I mean, it happened like every single shift that, the nurse prior to you has a complete opinion about this patient, especially if they're somewhat difficult, and I'll use air quotes because everybody's level of difficulty in that realm is totally different. And, my level of what I consider difficult is maybe completely different than that previous nurse's level of difficulty. So you take it all with a grain of salt. Now, some people love to just like feed the gossip, continue
Yes.
gossip.
Misery loves company.
Yeah. So some people love to just totally like feed into the gossip. Oh yeah, that patient, blah, blah, blah. And they add to it. I loved anytime that somebody would give me a report that was like a little distasteful about the patient. It was my favorite thing to be like, okay, well, I'm going to create a completely new opinion about this person. And I'm going to just go in there and like love them and take care of them. And, if at the end of the shift, they're truly an asshole to me, then like I get to make that own judgment. Like, and then
your own discernment.
And I'm definitely not going to pass it on though in the next shift. Like they get to make their next opinion. Like that next nurse gets to form their own opinion about how this patient is.
Yeah.
So that was like a huge, like living, breathing representation to me of like the way that gossip can really hurt a situation or like taint a situation. And then also the way that you can like truly overcome it, and truly just leave it, like I said, leave it on the sideline and make your own opinion and truly go into a situation with an open heart and love and just see that person for who they are. And if they really are, scum of the earth asshole, like, okay, then they are. And like that's who they are. And also no judgment for that. Like you don't know what that person went through. Like you don't know what they're struggling with, so it's also in that moment, like not judging that person for being truly like not the best person to you, doesn't make it acceptable, but just, doesn't.
And know that it's like, okay, if that person isn't being kind to you, well, you don't have to have that person in your life. Use your discernment to realize that you don't have to be treated poorly.
Right.
And like, because yes, we don't know what people have gone through, but it doesn't mean that you have to stay in that energy.
And what's cool about that, or what's different about that, where being the nurse patient relationship, like I had to be in that person's life for 12 hours.
Yeah.
So what was always really cool to me was to see how true compassion and kindness would literally almost always diffuse and a situational awareness. So like you also have to like be aware that person
they're in pain,
in the best place. And so when you go in, like,
you're allowing them to be seen and heard and valued.
Exactly. And so I might not fuss over you as much because you don't want to be fussed. Okay, fine. I'll give you the space. Like, it's like, it also invites
seeing people for where they're at, for where they're at.
Totally. And invites you to be in like more love, more compassion, more empathy. And see people for where they're at and let them be there. Like, don't try to fix it, change it, make it your way. Like, and so I guess that was a really unique thing about that situation.
It could lead into the next agreement, but
we'll save that for next time.
We'll save that for next time. But it does allow you to kind of show true compassion, true understanding, and just seeing that person for where they're at and just holding space for them. Because really, people just want to be heard, and they just want to, maybe you're not hearing them when they don't want to be fussed on, and maybe you keep fussing on them, and it makes them feel triggered, and it makes them feel irritable, and then they maybe act out on you, but you weren't quite understanding them, and you weren't quite seeing them for where they were.
Yep. It was
cool. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. Side note, did you have any seeds that were planted in you that you were like, get out of here?
I mean, I think the ones that we talked about earlier are my most obvious ones, like the getting
Yeah.
older, growing older.
Do you have any ones from the past?
Tan.
Like,
Um, well, when you said the color clothes thing, I always feel like people do imprint on you, like what would look good on you based off
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
what they like. Like,
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
people will always tell me red looks really good on you, and I'm just like, but like, where did that come? Where does that come from? Because most of the time, the people that say that love red, and I'm like,
But you know what's funny? I picked out that red jumper for you. Red is my lip color, but not my color to wear.
yeah,
I mean, it's funny. I agree because I was like, oh, this red will look really fucking good on her. And it fucking looked
it
bomb
did,
on you.
it
And
did.
it did. I wonder with like your hair color and your skin color,
Maybe that's why people say
maybe
it.
that's where
Yeah.
I was picking up on why it would look good on you.
Because I guess flip side to that is like, so people might see that on you, but like if that's not something you're comfortable in, then like
You're
that's
not going to,
true to your integrity. So like if I
exactly.
buy that red dress and I don't think I feel good in red, but you tell me that I look good in red, then like it's not gonna really ever feel authentic for me to wear. But I did love those jumpers.
Yeah. But also let's do another flip side of this diamond. Maybe it's planting a seed because maybe let's just say, like maybe it's like you're like, oh no, I don't like red on me. Like maybe something got imprinted on you when you were younger,
Mhm.
and then boom, I'm like, oh, this red actually looks really good on you, and then maybe you do start buying more red because it could plant the seed.
Ah,
There's
that's cool.
definitely that's the gray area, and we were chatting about that the other day. It's like there's so much gray area into things, but it's like, but I also love what you say, like it's going against what I feel. When somebody's like, no, this would be really good for you, this would be really good for you, it's someone else's judgment, it's someone else's assumption, it's their journey trying to be imprinted on you. So coming back to you saying, does it sit right in your soul?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you can really decipher if it's going to be meant for you.
Yeah. But I can't think of any other ones. If I think of some, I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I will. I'll let
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So we talked about gossip and we talked about how to stay impeccable. And what I really feel like is heavily laced in this agreement as we're chatting it out in this episode, I'm really realizing that this one, and I guess all of them are a lot of internal work, but like this
Mm-hmm.
one truly like, I mean, he says it's one of the most powerful agreements. It can transcend,
Yeah.
the heaven on earth that we're creating.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. And so I think that what I'm hearing though in this episode and like realizing is like it's a ton of internal work to yeah, to create your beautiful garden, to maintain
Mm-hmm.
the beautiful garden
Mm-hmm.
that you're growing of your beliefs
Yeah.
and your and creating that impeccable beauty in your mind and in your internal world so that like when you are using your words to everybody else, they are impeccable and they are
Yeah.
um,
Integrity.
from love. Yeah,
Yeah.
from love,
It,
not from judgment, blame, or rejection. So it's like, I don't know, I just feel like I wanted to like highlight that and just really touch on that. I feel like there's just a lot of internal work, which I did not
well,
pick up on in the first time I read the book.
oh yeah, I did want to
Cool.
talk about that. I'm going to talk
Yeah.
about that after, but I do think, I mean, really, I do feel this book is really just like self-reflector. Like with the other agreements we'll learn, it's still coming from a place of still coming from a place of how you are perceiving things, how you are digesting things. And when you live in a truth and an integrity, it comes back to integrity. That keeps coming through my mind. It's like when you come from those places, it allows your external world to just be to just be an inner reflection. And it's like to sit in your own journey and to really kind of just see where you're showing up, and it gets you to come back and to not use the external factors for fact and for the judgments and all that type of stuff. So I really think, I mean, to me, I think it all starts within. It all starts with an inner work, and that's how we can use our discernment for what people are throwing at us in life.
Yeah. And just to like reiterate, if you're feeling like really overwhelmed by thinking about going inward, and also if you're traveling through your daily life and you realize, wow, like I am really dysregulated every day. I'm really on overdrive and I feel like I can't even like take
Rest.
ownership for what's going
Yeah.
on inside my body. Like, okay, that's like a huge invitation just to take a pause in your day for like 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes, of just sitting down, breathing. Or maybe you need to go for a walk and you need to move your body, or you need to do some yoga, or whatever is your physical activity of choice, bike ride. Maybe that's what your body needs, is just to get out some energy and recenter. Maybe you start a little meditation practice that helps you just to kind of like get into your body, into your mind. But like if you're feeling overwhelmed by the thought of it, or you feel like you're just like, wow, in reflection of my day, I'm like on overdrive all the time and I can't get a grasp on like, my actions and my words, like just start with little micro changes of like your day, just
Small
micro changes. Yeah.
The holistic psychologist, small promises, every small promises make the big picture. Make a small promise to yourself every day. It can be simple as starting with water. It can be starting with washing your face. It can start with an intention, a prayer.
Yeah, you're brushing your teeth could be intentional. And a big thing too, I think, if you're feeling that way, like start the day. If your alarm goes off on your phone and that's how you do your alarm, cool, turn it off, and then just like maybe even have your phone on airplane mode or do not disturb, and don't turn to it right away, because it's just an overload of information. And it's so easy for us to get then spun into,
and then the dopamine that comes from that.
Yeah. So just like try to just like put the phone down for a little while in the morning if you can. And that's a really great way to start the day, because I imagine a lot of us turn to our phones and might instantly like open the email, or like a lot of these are just literally like unconscious behaviors. Like it's just literally like we open our phone and we just have this like muscle memory of clicking this and clicking that, and we don't even sometimes realize that we're doing it until we do it. So like
the subconscious.
Just maybe make that little promise to yourself. You're just going to turn the alarm off and put the phone down and then get up, kind of thing. So that so anyways, just little
well said.
Yeah.
A little plant, a little seed plant, a little seed plant. I love it. But I just wanted to just jump into this real quick. I liked how you said the other day, you're like, oh, like what I'm seeing now. I read this book 10 years ago, and what really stuck out to me was the gossip. And now, 10 years later, you're a different person. So your conscious mind is more conscious. And it is like now you see it in a different way. And I feel the same too. I mean, I only read it 2 years ago, and now I'm like really at the forefront of my heart and mind. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like seeing how we can integrate it in every aspect of our existence.
Yeah. It's really beautiful. So I guess just like, with that being said, to everybody, like keep coming back to it. Like,
keep the book by your bedside. You said that yesterday. Yeah.
Even though I don't have it by my bedside. And honestly, if you've read it, I encourage you to listen to it, because to me, like just like the power of words, like we're talking about in this chapter, in this first agreement, hearing the words spoken to me maybe also is allowing me to hear it in a different way as well than when I read it the first time. Like I read it the first time, took notes, I had scribbled in the book, but this time I'm hearing it differently. And I don't know if maybe part of it has to do with the fact that I'm listening to it on audio situation. So I encourage anybody to do that as well.
Both. Try both. Yeah.
Next month, read it, or vice versa. Like just whatever, try both of them and see if things land differently, or take a couple months and then come back to it. And
try both and see how they do hit differently.
Yeah.
Because they most definitely will. So we would like to encourage you or invite you for this next week to see how impeccability is showing up in your life. See how your words are potentially putting weeds in your garden, or putting a garden of expansion for you. Just really kind of see yourself where you're at, and just kind of look at people, places, and things and see if you can just keep the first agreement in your heart and in your mind. Be impeccable with your word.
Beautiful. Look into your gardens.
Yeah.
See what's growing there. See what you would like to take out. See how you can tend it with more love and intention. And yeah, I'd say writing things down is a really great way to digest this inner landscape. Maybe taking the beliefs that you're realizing, maybe there's ones right on the forefront, jot them down, just get them out of the system, put them there, maybe burn that, piece of paper after.
Yeah.
And a ceremony of these beliefs are going to be transmuted through the smoke back into the universe, and they're not mine anymore. You could do a ceremony like that.
You could do another one where you ask for them to present themselves, the unconscious agreements you've made for yourself in your day-to-day life. Ask them to come forward.
Oh, that's a beautiful impeccability word spell.
Yeah.
Because our words are spells, and you can use them in that way to set intentions and spells for yourself. Yeah.
And like the signs are all around. Jesus. Just allow just asking your higher self, your God, whatever, to bring forth the subconscious agreements that you have agreed to that you no longer resonate with. Really, the verbiage doesn't really matter, but it does matter. Sorry, but say it in your own words is what I was trying to say. Like, find your own way that brings these unconscious agreements forward so that you can shift, grow, and evolve.
Oh, I'm going to start using that because I love that.
Yeah, because you were like, that's what you were trying to, when you started reading this book again, you were like, man, I want to see what agreements that I've been catering to. So yes, it's bring forward the agreements that no longer resonate, that are still within me. Yeah. Allow me to see what needs to be seen. Simple as that. Rituals. It's go back to episode 4. There are one of my favorites. I love rituals. I love intentions. So any sort of words that like feel right for you, like feel that resonance within your soul. You will feel it. You will feel it. And then you'll feel, and then really look at what you've written out. Like, I have so many notes written around my house with so many different things. And actually I was going to make a post because I had one that I realized. So I had abundance is with you. But then as my conscious mind was like shifting, I went back and I realized I switched the word because I said, and then my pen was running out. So you can't quite see it, but you can see that I went back and rewrote, and it says abundance is within you rather than it's with you. It's within me. Everything is within us. So like, just see the words that you write out, see if there's maybe a little bit of tweaking that you can do. And just sit with your agreements, sit with what you've been catering to, the stories, the plans. Pay attention to the mind, that internal dialogue that is speaking to yourself. Is it gentle? Is it gentle? Is it a sweet garden, or is it a little heavy? No judgment. Just see yourself for where you're at, and know that it's all about planting seeds. It's all about just like seeing yourself for where you're at.
I have one little agreement here or one little thought that I just want to unpack for a second, because I wrote one of my notes is that you can break the spell of words with truth, like a spell that's been cast on you, or like, somebody's spoken something to you that
I love that.
Spell. But the only part that doesn't jive for me is that my belief around truth is that it doesn't really exist. And the only truth in this reality is that we're going to die. Everything else is just an opinion or a belief or somebody else's conscious thought process. The only truth is you're going to die. Like, we're not going to make it out of here alive. Like, we're all going to die. That is truth.
Cool.
Like,
I
that
like
is
that.
Factual truth. Everything else from birth to that point is subject to opinion.
yeah, totally. So, ooh, that's cool. I like that.
So there's a part of that chapter that I just totally don't know if I jive with the word truth. I don't really. I have a hard time with it because
maybe like your reality.
I need to sit in it a little bit longer and come up with the ways that I feel about it. But I feel like what can break the spell, if I was going to reframe it is doing your own internal weeding, like break
Yeah.
the spell. You're going in and you're doing your gardening and you're tending to your garden. So like you're creating your own truth because
Well, I was just gonna say your own reality.
yeah, our own
Yeah.
reality. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you're
because it's like your own journey. Because going back to what you were saying earlier, like you will feel these things jar within you that it doesn't sit right within you.
yeah.
So, but then you will also feel the things that give the hair up on your arms, that make your like just feeling those sensations that light you up.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to those sensations and create. I mean, we all are creators of our own lives. We can create our heaven, we can create our hell, and like just go within and create your own reality.
Mm-hmm.
Whether switching out the word truth,
Yeah.
and just coming back into what feels right in your soul. Like I'm here to live a life that feels right within my soul, that lights me up, that makes me that guides me in the highest of alignment.
Yeah. I'd say love, integrity, and authenticity are the words that I would substitute for truth, breaking the spell. I'd say love, authenticity, and integrity would break the spell. If I insert a different word for that. So anyways,
cool.
Yeah.
Hell
All
yeah.
right.
I love that. Love that. Very cool. Planting seeds, little seed planters. Okay, cool. Well, this was a great episode. It's fun. It's fun to dive in to these things that do light us up. And I encourage you to listen to the book, read the book, follow along with us on the journey, and just allow your own seeds, your own garden to tend, and be impeccable with your word. See how you're being impeccable with your word. And if there's any needs for tweaking, if there's any need for gardening, and just allow yourself to just be at your core who you are, perfectly imperfect.
Love it. Love it. And if you resonate with this podcast and you feel called to share it with anybody and everyone, please do hit the like, subscribe button on YouTube if you're following on YouTube. Rate us on Spotify. That helps get us, more seen, and we appreciate that. And we love all of you, and we appreciate your support and following and listening and enjoying. And until next time, we'll see you on Collecting Consciousness.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.